Welcome everyone. Welcome aboard the Hermione. We've been sailing for just a little under 2 days. We're just about to cross the barrier from the Bay of Gascogne to into the Atlantic. As you can tell, there's sunshine, so we're all happy. But you may be able to hear in the background that the engines are going while we film, and that's because we're actually trying to make some good way to get far enough south to avoid a larger storm that's headed our way. The sailing has been wonderful so far, and we will talk more about propulsion in another webinar, but today we want to focus on climate and environment. I have with me Manon Bernard, who will be one of the volunteers aboard the ship that you'll meet during the webinars. And she and I will be doing the water sampling and the releasing of data buoys along the trip, which we'll talk more about when we actually see the material. The ship has 80 people aboard, as you may have seen from the materials you read. She is a replica of the ship that brought Lafayette to the United States in 1780. So this is a historical moment as well as an opportunity for all of us to learn something about the world that surrounds us. So I wish Nicolas could have been here to help us, but because he's going to be very involved with the data buoys and the release of the data buoys. They weigh a ton, and we're going to need a lot of people to maneuver them. But hey, Nicolas, come here. This works really well. Nicolas is actually on duty right now, which is why he's wearing a harness, but he's on a break. We call it a fika in honor of the Swedes that have helped rig the ship. But Nicolas, welcome aboard. Nicolas Chabon is one of the volunteers that has agreed to help us with all the data collection over the entire trip. So, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's go look at the data buoys. So here we are in the voilerie. This is the stock room, if you will, but it also stores the sails. We're in the bow of the ship, and there are two types of buoys that we wanted to show you today. But one type, they're called drifters, and they're basically released into the ocean. They have a bag at the bottom that holds them in place. Those are stored way up in the bow, and they're really in a nice, neat spot. And since we're expecting some bad weather within the next 24 hours, we don't want to start moving things. So we'll have to show you those later. But we did want to show you these. They're called Argos. And there's a difference between these and the others. These, when we release them, actually dive into the ocean and go down a certain depth to measure temperature and salinity at different levels in the ocean, as I understand it. And I'll leave the experts' questions to Jim, who's on the webinar, to be more precise. But I understand that's the big difference between this and the others. These also drift much more quickly than the drifter buoys that are made to stay fairly stationary. All of these buoys are part of a larger network. There are tens or dozens of them across the entire Atlantic Ocean, and that network feeds a system of climate information that goes through Europe and then helps the United States as well to understand global changes in climate from year to year. I honestly don't know how to set this off. We just found the on-off switch, which is like really cool because we know we can get at least that far. But we promise to do our homework, if you do yours, to follow us as these buoys get released. We're going to be posting on our site when the dates and times when these get released, and you'll be instructed by Jim, and you'll also be able to find it on our website, how to follow the data during the trip. So if you're excited about weather, you're excited about climate, we encourage you to look all that up and ask Jim lots of questions. We're going to put this back where it's safe, up in the hold, and we'll lash her down so that when we want to release her, she'll still be here and be intact. Because when the waves come, things can start to rock and roll. Hey everybody, we're back here in La Grande Rue. We're about ready to show you, at least in principle, what we're going to be doing to collect water samples along the voyage. So here's the principle. We've got a clean bucket. We've cleaned it so that we don't introduce any other foreign matters into the taking of the sample. We've got our bottle, which is supposed to be a 1 liter. This is a ½ liter, so again, it's just a sampling. And normally we're going to use a piece of foil that we're going to stick on top of the cap, underneath the bottle cap before we screw it on. So that's the principle. We're going to go grab some water, and then we're going to dump the bottle into the water, and we'll see if we can get this done without losing the bucket. Ok, on amène la bouteille. Tu... Ouais.
Comment? Ah, vous en entendez?
Ouais, tu peux mettre le fond comme ça, ouais. Faire beaucoup de bulles. So what we want to do is make sure that we've got enough water to get right to the top before we cap it. We're going to normally put a piece of foil on top, and then we'll put the cap on. Each of these bottles will get labeled so that we know exactly our position, time of day, and that way we'll know sort of, Abby, when she does the work, you're going to hear from her later in the webinar, we'll be able to tell exactly where this came from and you know, what the conditions might have been, because obviously if we've got a beautiful sunny day today, the water's fairly calm, and we'll hope this works. So here we're going through the mess hall. This is where the crew share their meals, and we're going to go through that door into what's called the Grande Chambre, which is where all the navigation equipment is, and I want to show you the weather instruments there. So here's where we navigate and where we watch the weather, and I wanted to point out a couple of things that are very important to us. We have obviously weather data maps that are sent to us all the time, showing the direction and the force of the wind. We've also got wind direction, true wind, and speeds and directions. And they were also, one of the important things is barometric pressure. So we actually have a barometer on board that will give us accurate data regarding atmospheric pressure. We'll be also measuring water temperature and air temperature outside. And all of those data points will be followed with local position and time of day. And they'll be uploaded once a day to a website that we've been provided by Météo France. And you'll be able to follow all of those weather points as well as the ones from the data buoys. Well, listen, everyone. Thank you for following us around. This is the stern of the ship. Now you've pretty much walked the entire ship. There are a lot of little places we'll show you in other videos, but this is where the navigation occurs, which we'll talk about in another webinar. And I wanted to take a moment to thank Jim and Abby for joining us. Really appreciate your expertise, and I hope you get lots of great questions. And I'd also like to thank my son Ben for stepping in and being my land-based security blanket, because the connections from the ship are at best uncertain, and we certainly hope to be with you in a few minutes. But if that fails, I know you're in good hands, and stay tuned. Thanks.